I'm going to take a few minutes and to reminisce over a few memories I have from the summer of 2012. I had the opportunity to travel to Slovakia and to also visit Budapest, which is in Hungary. And a lot of great things, great memories, great things I've learned came out of that trip. And, I just have a couple of tips to help anyone who is uh, planning to travel abroad for whatever reason. Uh, First and foremost, water. Uh, if you don't like mineral water, learn to like it. That's the first thing that one of the first things I had to learn over there is that water is not as uh, utilized as it is here in the United States. And if you want to go to a restaurant or a cafe, uh, or even at formal functions, really just regular old tap water or distilled water is not the first thing that's used, which is often what is here in the States. Uh, what's used over there is mineral water. And if you've never tasted mineral water, it is probably among the most detestable substances on the face of the planet. And it is not an appetizing beverage, especially when you're at a restaurant preparing for a meal. Talk about gag. Uh, but one thing I've learned is if you are at a function or you're at a restaurant, you want plain old water, you need to say water, no gas. No kidding. Water, no gas. They'll give you a funny look, but they know what it means. It means you just want old water. And it blew me away coming to realize that over there. But it's water, no gas for plain old water. Otherwise, you're going to get mineral water. And it's really disgusting. It is. It's gross. Let's see here. But I had some wonderful experiences, and I've touched on Slovakia, and I was over there visiting Tisovets, wonderful people. But we also visited Budapest. Wow, talk about culture shock. Uh, we had we were in a city of about 10 million people, and we were told that they have 10 million people, but overwhelmingly the majority are visitors. There's actually probably only about 2 million that actually live there. And that was interesting to me because that just enhanced the fact that that is a widely uh, tourist. Uh, I don't even want to say community. It's too dang big for a community. But it's a city that centers around tourism. And every block that you go to, there isn't a square foot that's not taken up by uh, a shop or a business. And most of these are actually very fine establishments, not very dirty ones. And it's interesting because Budapest is a very ancient city. It appeals to millions of people. The inhabitants of Hungary know this. And so they take great strides in making Budapest cater to the tourist. They have it's just a different thing from somebody from Iowa in the United States to visit Budapest because it's totally different. Uh, here in the states we've got communities that you've got your school board, you got your waterworks, you've got a city hall, you've got grocery stores down the street. Um, things that operate cohesively to make the community function on a daily basis. And it was interesting because you go to Budapest and everything is just catered to the tourist and making that tourist comfortable, making that tourist uh, want to be drawn in to, of course, spend money. And I just did. Yes, I was blown away with Budapest, but I didn't get the sense of a community atmosphere, if you will. And of course, I wasn't there too long. Uh, but most of my time was spent uh, visiting places, visiting sites, uh, things of that nature. But it is a fascinating city. I didn't know that there was actually a Statue of Liberty in Budapest. No kidding. Of course, it doesn't quite have the history that we've got here in the United States. It the Statue of Liberty there in Budapest was erected to commemorate the liberation. Was it from the Nazis? I believe it was liberation from the Nazis by the Russians. Yeah. So there was some funny things that I've noticed there, and also on my Google Plus profile, my main picture is the Budapest Parliament at night. I took that shot from a boat ride, and that was a fascinating thing as well. Uh, in the evening, there's just a lot of boats out there, uh, designed for hundreds of seatings, and what they do is they take you up a couple miles and they go back down the stream a couple miles and they come back up and to show you both sides of the city, the Buda and then the Pest, and at a specific time, all the lights go on for the buildings that border the river, and that's when the that's when the flash cameras go off and the video cams go on, and it was just absolutely brilliant to see, and for me at least the Budapest Parliament uh, was probably the crowning moment on that boat trip because it was just so magnificent. It stared at you right in the face, um, and it's just remarkable what man can build. And the one thing that did surprise me and enlightened me about Budapest is that we watch on the television or the internet, and we talk about all the unrest out there and all the intolerance, and how this ethnic group hates this group, and vice versa, and how people hate the gays or whatever. But I went to Budapest, and you'll see uh, Muslims and Catholics sitting side by side as fellow tourists. You'll see Palestinians, Jews sitting side by side. There's no look in their eyes of ire or anything like that. They they were all tourists. They all had the sense in their heart and their mind that they are visiting a historic place. They were respectful to each other. They looked at each other as if, they were each human beings. And that was really refreshing for me to see. Uh, and I know I've totally gone off the initial subject of this entire video, was to give you a couple of pointers. But at least I start off with the main pointer, which is to watch out for the water in Europe. But I guess the main focus presented itself, and that was just to present a couple of learnings that I got from Budapest itself. But a very ancient city, and it also brings to light how little the education is wherever you are in the world. And that in order to get a good, well-rounded education of an area, you really need to go there. And so that was, I learned a lot about Budapest, and it's changed hands a lot of times throughout its history. But the people over there are struggling for identity. They don't quite, because it's changed hands so many times, and a lot of times it's changed hands willingly. Uh, that they struggle for a self identity, a self purpose, and one of the things that I've noticed about Budapest is they really hold on to uh, history, because that's all they have. So they really hold on to Budapest. They hold on to it because it is their gem, it's their baby. Um, but as far as reaching out and making a name for themselves in the world and the community about them, uh, they're very timid, and they're very timid about being a part of the European, the Union, if you will. And right now they're going through a major, I wouldn't say an unrest, but an uncertainty about their own form of currency and the euro. And I know that's something that isn't widely talked about over there, but it is something that concerns them. And even something as like your own currency, those things matter. They pertain to your identity as a country, as a people. But I highly recommend going to Budapest um, and visiting that ancient city. Love the people there, the sacred springs, the anonymous writer, Statue of Liberty, and all those wonderful Jewish rabbis riding around on Segways. That was a funny thing. But those are my thoughts for the day.